Welcome to C-Suite Sherpas, where we shine a spotlight on business experts and resources that you should know. I'm Ron Partridge, your host, and I'm excited today to have Angela Edwards, who is founder of Castle Thunder Consulting. So, Angela, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Castle Thunder Consulting offers Burnout to Bliss, a program that's designed to help women business owners shift from being overwhelmed to really thriving without experiencing that burnout. So, tell us what that is and how you do that.
Really, I got into doing what I do because I've seen really firsthand how businesses can either empower or entrap their owners. And I realized the difference between business owners who work themselves into exhaustion and those who build systems for freedom and sustainability. And what that did was that compelled me to figure out how to make a framework for this. And what I did was I developed my castle methodology. And I used that to work with women business owners and leaders to take them from feeling overwhelmed and that their business is running them to really leading their businesses with clarity and confidence.
Wow, that's great. Do you have examples of where you've been able to help someone and really illustrate the impact that maybe it had both on their business and their personal life?
Sure. One that comes to mind, I was working a little while back, I was working with a marketing agency owner, and we got introduced because she was just absolutely phenomenally exhausted and burnt out. A friend said, "You need to meet Angela. You need to talk with her." What I found out when I was talking with her, she was working 60 plus hours a week, every single week, constantly putting out fires in her business. And she had started her business to get out of the corporate 60-hour week.
Yeah.
And it was really taxing on her. And she didn't understand where she'd gone wrong. We streamlined her operations and we hired and empowered a team. So she had some gaps in the folks that worked with her. So we figured out where she needed to hire and who needed to be put in which positions and who had which skill sets and where they would thrive, and really empowering those people in each one of their positions. And what we did was just looking at her schedule and really revamping that of things, delegating, figuring out how to facilitate delegating. That was even hard for her. And the ultimate thing was that we cut her work week almost in half. And the real kicker of that was that we almost doubled her revenue at the same time. So that's the kind of transformation that I really love helping people to achieve.
So I can't help but think, and I was an executive for a long time, a lot of years, and I found myself getting caught in that kind of trap. So these are really smart people. So why is it they get caught in this like hamster wheel of firefighting and activity and they can't get out of it without like your help?
I think it's because people who are in that role, you are an achiever. You don't get into that role because you're like, let someone else do it.
Right.
You get into that role because you know that you're good at it and you know you can do it even better. But that sort of becomes a double-edged sword for you
Yeah.
in that you don't want to let anything go because I can do it quicker, faster, better than anybody else on my team. I can do this without making a mistake or without making an incredibly egregious mistake. So you have to be willing to step back from that and say, I'm going to start facilitating others and empowering others to do some of these things. And in that, I will accept that there will be some missteps, there will be some rework as they learn. And that is part of the learning curve.
Mm.
It is not about how efficient you can be and how long you can sustain that efficiency for 60 hours a week. It is about how you grow your business and make the entire business efficient. Because what if you had to step out? And sometimes you don't get to plan stepping out.
Yeah. So for example, if God forbid an illness strikes them or something happens where they have to be gone, it can't detrimentally affect the business and the employees, right?
Right. And I have a personal story about that. I've always been a big believer in building things that will run without me. And yes, I do take a vacation, but I'm always reachable. And last year, unfortunately, I had an emergency situation where I was out of touch for a week, very little notice, and I was very nervous about that. And it took me back. I thought, oh my gosh, here I am. I'm all nervous about this. This is practice what you preach. And I do sometimes talk to myself like, what would you tell a client? You wouldn't let a client do this. You wouldn't let a client get away with this.
Right.
And I had to tell myself, I have built systems. I have empowered my team. I have built this company, and surely it will live without me for a week. And these folks can handle that. And anything that they can't handle or they mishandle, we'll all address it together, or they'll figure it out and address it before I even get back. It will be okay. And that was a trust the process moment for me, that I got to sit in someone else's shoes for a minute of when I'm telling people that trust the process, trust the process. It was just a humbling moment to be like, oh, that now I understand. I had some understanding of what it felt like for them, but now I really have a total, complete, empathetic understanding of what this is.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. By the way, what I don't think a lot of business owners really understand is that when the business is really dependent on you and you are the business, there's no value there. If you wanted to get value from the company, however that is, to retire, to whatever, do something different, a lot of buyers will discount that very heavily because of that. It's called key man risk, right? And so
Yes.
it's in the owner's best interest to have you with them, coaching them, because that dramatically improves the value of the business.
And that's one of the key things in my methodology. That is the E in the Castle methodology. We talk about evolution, or perhaps it's even an exit strategy. And sometimes that actually changes over time. Of when I start talking with people and 5 years later, they're like, hey, I want to do something different. But what I want to do when I work with them, and I want to set up for, where do you see this business going? Is this something that do you want to sell this business? Or are you thinking that that's an end game? Or are you passing it along in the family? There's all sorts of things of, what do you want to do with your business? And when they tell me that they want to sell their business, that's something that is, we're moving along, even if they're not going to sell it for 5 or 10 years. You need to build to sell now,
Right.
because at the time that you want to sell, it's too late to build to sell. And you don't have anything to sell, because without you, there is no business.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So we really didn't talk about your methodology. Do you want to dive into that a little bit and talk a bit about what it is?
Sure, I can run through it
Yeah, that'd be great.
quickly here. So each letter of CASTLE stands for a piece of the methodology.
Okay.
And we don't necessarily work it from beginning to end. We kind of jump in where's needed. But we start with C, is controlling the numbers. I find that some business owners really don't have a firm grasp of their numbers. And I always tell them when I meet with them and we start reviewing their financials and really digging into the numbers, sometimes people don't have anything. They just are lucky that the bank account, hey, this month everybody got paid and there was a little left over and I got paid too. We did good. That got them there. It's not going to get them to the next place. So I encourage people, don't feel bad if you don't have those numbers or don't have an understanding, because you can just start working on that now. The next is A, and that's for aspirations. We look at, where are they going with the business? What do they want out of this business? How do they see it functioning? And touching on a number of things in that. The S is for strategy. We go through their business strategy. They may not have one. They may have an extensive one. We might need to tweak it. We also look at T for tactics, look at L for leverage and where that fits and what they've got working in their business with leverage. And then we look at E for evolution, or could be exit, depending on where they are.
Yeah.
And when I start working with someone, we do a very big assessment in the beginning to figure out where they are, what they want. And then we start in that methodology where we feel is the most important place to attack at that moment.
Oh, that's great. It sounds comprehensive, by the way, which is awesome.
And I like things that are simple and easy to remember so that people don't feel overwhelmed by the process.
Right. Cool. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So that was great, but I want the viewers to be able to get to know you a little bit more personally, not too personally. So if you're okay with it, we'll have a series of questions and you just shout out your answer and we'll see where it goes. You good?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll try this.
Cool. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. Coffee. Love coffee. Tea's great, but I love coffee.
Cats or dogs?
I love both, but dogs. I'm
Mm,
definitely a dog person. I
there you
love all animals.
Nice. Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
I've got so many, but this week I spoke with a group, and this one really comes to mind. We were talking on the topic of vision and developing a vision, and I went into the depths of executing a vision. I told them two things: that their vision is personal, and it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of their vision. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's really the big thing. And we had another moment of feeling overwhelmed in that group and having to do all the things for other people. And the other one that I said to them, and I keep this one, this is the mantra that I have. I actually have this with my team. Don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm.
I actually like that. I could use that myself, actually.
I
That's a
feel like
good.
we're all guilty of that at times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to do, by the way. Okay, favorite movie or streaming series?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to say streaming series right now, and I need to get back to it because I've only seen the first season. It's called Severance,
Severance.
and
Okay.
it is an Apple series that they have put out. They just released the second season, and I have not been able to see it. So I'm very fascinated with it. It talks about being severed from your personal life and your workplace without giving too much away.
There you go. Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book. I read so much, and I've been lately trying to get out of reading so many business books. One of the ones that came along, and I wished I could remember the name of it, but it was sort of a biography that was written for Lisa Marie Presley. That her daughter had taken this and had written this, and it was a very, very well written book. I don't normally do celebrity bios, but I found it fascinating. Just it was just a really great read about
Interesting.
the things that are important in life.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, last question, two-part question. One bucket list item that you've already accomplished, and one bucket list item that you have not yet accomplished.
Okay, let's not laugh at my one I've accomplished. I've accomplished a lot of them, but I'm going to go with one of the last things that I accomplished, which was last year. Was able to get tickets to see Casey and the Sunshine Band. And
Oh,
that has
nice.
been a thing for me, like my whole life of wanting to see Casey and the Sunshine Band. So that was a bucket list. And I was super surprised when I got to see them in Manteo, North Carolina. What a great show.
Was it good?
And,
It was worth it?
oh, it was worth it. It was phenomenal. The stage show is still like it was back in the day. So I really enjoyed it so much. I had such a great evening. It
Oh, that's
was
great.
amazing. Let's see. So then I owe you a bucket list item that I haven't done.
That's correct.
And I've been thinking about, so what's the next thing that I want to do? I had at one point in time, I wanted to do NASCAR laps. We went out to Vegas a couple of years ago and I bought my fiance laps at the speedway out there in a Ferrari for
Oh,
his
that's
birthday. So
yeah,
I'm thinking I want something. I want to go fast. I haven't figured out the details yet, but I'm like, I think that's what I'm going to do this year. I want to go fast.
that's awesome. That's great. Cool. Okay. If you could tell our viewers anything, just something that you think is consequential, what would you tell them?
Of something that I think is consequential, I would have to say that don't let fear and overwhelm stop you from going after what's important to you.
Yeah,
And I see that with so many people. They build a business, they have a goal, they build their business, and their business pulls them away from their goal. And they're scared to make that tweak to reach this other personal goal because what if something happens? What if something happens that's wonderful because you made that tweak and you altered that path? And
Right.
you never know, when you're introducing change, you get introduced to all of these new things. And there could be something absolutely amazing in that.
That's great advice, by the way. I like that because I do think fear holds a lot of people back. The fear of something bad happening. And I think you got to look at the positive side of it. What could happen if you do it and do it well,
Right.
you know?
Humans are perverse to change. And
Yeah.
I'm just as guilty. I can have all sorts of change going on. And then there's some change that I'm like, I don't participate in that. I just don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself too, that's okay, because this is change. And if nothing else, you went through it. I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen. You went through the change.
Yeah.
But what if something good comes out of that? Put forth the effort and be open.
Yeah. That's great advice. Cool. All right. If any of our viewers would like to collaborate with you, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my website at castlethunder.com.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Angela, thank you for your insights today. It's been a pleasure and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this.